everybody. Welcome to today's JETfornish Operator Meetup. I am here with our host, Ken Heisinger, who is one, I think, of the most knowledgeable people that I've met on the machine, one of the very first adopters when it came to JETvarnish technology, and has helped many, many, many of us who are out there running this technology be successful with it. Ken, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm great, Kevin. Thanks for having me again. I appreciate it.
I gotta say, I love that jersey. I don't know if you can show that off to
That's
those
a
of us
nice
who
jersey.
are. It's a very cool looking jersey.
Sport the colors, my friend.
That's awesome. So Ken, tell me something. A main reason people end up buying Jet Varnish technology or Curio Shine technology is for that spot varnish, tactile, dimensional look and feel. And I think that's kind of the theme for today. We had a really good designer meetup. I think we had over 25 people come to it. We tried to talk about dimensional, but it just went in 120 different ways, that conversation. So it's kind of hard for us to kind of focus on it. But I think there's a lot of stuff that we can learn from an operational standpoint on how to get the best out of those. So I just wanted to kick it off, introduce you, and then maybe see where you wanted to go with the conversation today.
Thanks, Kevin. I think that the tactile type of patterns that you can put in print is the bee's knees. That's where it's at. That's the moneymaker on the machine. People can talk about foil, and foil is great. It adds a great dimension, but talk about dimension. Dimension is where it's at. And I guess I want to start off by telling a little bit of a story. I was a guy that was often giving plant tours, and I was also the operator. And that's a unique position to be in because people would come in and they wouldn't be too familiar with the technology, especially designers, and they would wander around the shop and they'd get shown the same things. This is our digital room and this is our offset press, and but I really look forward to kind of, in a sense, that it was almost boring until they got to where the jet varnish was at the time. And boy, was I ready, right? Because I had samples there that had a lot of texture. We had a big Gila monster as one of our logos, and that Gila monster had different heights of bumps all over it, and it had texture near the mouth and tongue, and it had a lot of spines on the back. And I would hand that to them, and I wouldn't really explain anything other than just hand it to them. And of course, I talk about the technology as an operator, which you operators have unique knowledge. You're going to be able to provide insight that maybe a marketing person won't. So as an operator, I encourage you to get involved in these tours. But I would talk a little bit about, hey, what we can do, and less is more, and let's show you where we can put gloss and where we can put interesting features and details. But I would sit there and I would watch them like the whole time that I'm talking. They're just feeling and they're touching and they're turning things over and they're looking. And I think honestly, at times they were completely like zoning out from what I was saying. And we would talk and I would then drop on them, hey, your product, at least a portion of your product may need this in order to have impact. And they'd be like, well, how much is it? I said, well, it's not necessarily cheap, but we need to look at return on investment, right? And we would talk about how much more it could potentially be, and how to save money on the elements, right? We know as operators where the varnish needs to go and where we could take it away from to get impact. And I would say, okay, I want to stop right here, and I want you to realize that you were just intimately involved with the print that's in your hand subconsciously for almost
Oh, wow.
15 minutes now. And when your piece shows up in the mailbox or you hand somebody some of your collateral, the customer's also going to get that involved. They're going to be that intimate with it. And is your message worth the toss aside, or is your message worth somebody grabbing their attention and maybe spending as much as a minute to looking at what your key offer might be? And it's really hard for them to argue at that point because they didn't even realize they were doing it. It sells itself. So I
Interesting.
think your marketing and sales staff may get involved and they may talk about some of the things that, can happen, but it's hard to believe that an operator, right? An operator is telling them because you touch it too. Every day you're picking up those prints at the end and you're checking them out. And you're like, oh, that finish is cool, or that one's not, or maybe if I get more height, or the designers could also take that height from low on the sheet all in one pass to much higher on a sheet. You could have parts of a sheet that have 100 microns. You could have parts of a sheet that have 30 microns.
So, Ken, I have a comment because I think it's really interesting way to open up this conversation for today. And a lot of this comes from my conversations with our friend Matt Redbear, who is also a tactifuller and full-time operator. And I think one of the key things that I think a lot of people may not understand or may not be leveraging fully is just how important your operator can be in the sales process. And I think this is really important because operators technically or typically I should say have like a designer background, right? So they know what it looks like on the screen, and most importantly, they know what it looks like on the sheet when it translates from the screen to the sheet. And very often they understand what the design's going to look like from whether it's a complication standpoint with the fine lines all close together, or it might be the cost standpoint, everything's 90% coverage at 100 microns. And typically they can kind of sell around that so that you have a really good looking piece, an impactful piece, a piece that will run easily from a technical standpoint, and most importantly, also not necessarily use as much consumables as you would typically see. So I think what you're saying is really resonating and very, very much backed up. I think a lot of people who have operators involved sort of in that sales cycle is that your operator really knows what's best for that piece, both for the customer, but also for the printer.
Well, your sales staff typically could care less about how a product is produced.
Right.
Right? You're in the trenches and you see and feel what is great for a printed piece. And the way for you to prove this, right, is to go ahead while you have downtime. You know, that MGI and CurioShine editor is super powerful. You've got built-in textures there. You've got built that you're able to grab certain parts of an image and bring things up without pre-press or your designers even knowing. I'm gonna wonder maybe how you improved this piece and how come it didn't start out the way it was. So you can drift off in the corners, you can grab different textures and put them in different spots. You can take a proof that's, it's big in our industry, right? That's new to everybody. They want to see a proof. Go ahead and make a proof of your own. Go ahead and modify it and play with it. You might you might be the one that makes a customer go, I was going to get 100. Now I want 1,000. This is really super cool.
You know what Al Kenical does? You trained him too at the Kenical Group. Really smart way. Doing a lot of what you're saying is he'll send his sales staff to all the high-end trade shows in the country. Think like private jet trade show, if you want to buy a car or a private jet or a Bugatti or all these things. And he just goes around and takes brochures from each of them, takes it home, takes out the staples, tapes it down to a white sheet, scans it in, does an acquisition, and then embellishes the cover of that brochure, binds it back up, and then sends it back to their salespeople. And then they go visit Bugatti or Gulfstream or whoever and say, "Hey, why doesn't your brochure look like this?" And it's their actual brochure that they scanned in, doing exactly what you're talking about. So that's been like a great sales strategy that our friends in Georgia have been taking full advantage of that scanner technology to do that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And here's another small story just to prove my point. Early on, when we got our jet varnish, we were having some issues. The technology was new. It wasn't quite printing like I wanted it to. I had some pretty high demands. And I went to a show in Las Vegas, and KM was just new to carrying the jet varnish technology.
I was
And
there. I remember.
I brought my file with, and I'm like, I want to see if you guys have the same issue on this one that I do. Maybe I can change the design, but let's print it. So I don't know, I brought 500, maybe 1,000 sheets with, and we
See
played with
Spot Run.
it. And people were walking by and grabbing these things because of the texture. And after the 3 day show, I think it was a sign expo actually,
It was. It was SGIA.
and then by the end of the 3 day weekend, I think I saw 1,000 pieces of artwork floating around that people, and then people were coming to look for them, right? They didn't even care about the jet harness; they wanted the lizard. So,
Yeah.
um, you can really have an impact as an operator. And we'll talk in a minute about things that are great and not so great for the machine when it comes to design. But it it's really cool, and nothing I think is better for an operator than to say, you know what, I created that.
Right.
I was part of the team that did that, and this is how you get products that become in demand to your typical customers.
Fully agree. Fully agree. And please, if Paul, Andre, Eric, Marco, you have anything that you want to talk about specifically when it comes to raised varnish and tactile textures, please feel free to jump in. I know you guys are also in this every day, and you're probably seeing some really cool things. One of the cool things that we talked about in the designer meetup that nobody's tried is using a toner press to overprint not foil, but overprint varnish. Did you ever try that, Ken? I wanted to ask you that question because I've never seen that done before.
No, I mean that would frighten me, honestly. The heat from a fusing roller pushing on so cured varnish, that would be crazy.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
somebody's doing that now, huh?
I don't know. I want somebody to try it, but I don't want to
No,
take
no,
responsibility.
I overprint the foiled one, not the varnish one.
Yeah, we've
Not
seen
only with the
foil.
varnish. I print overprinted with the foil.
What's
We
interesting is that
Yeah.
some of the toner machines now are fusing at a lower temperature, and I think as it creeps further and further down, that might
Yeah.
work. Boy, it would have to be very low micron varnish.
But I told Kevin to ask you regarding the Cam 1 to print it on a Cam 1, embellish it on the jet varnish, and overprint it in the Cam 1 again.
that's doable.
That's working. I
That's
know that it's
interesting.
working.
So I've
That's
seen
interesting.
I
everybody
know that it's
overprint.
working.
I've always seen people overprint foil, but I've never seen people try to overprint the 3D varnish. That's the thing. I've seen everybody overprint foil, no problem, but never on the varnish itself. I've always wondered what that would look like if you put something on like a 40 or 50 micron block, like what would happen to that ink? Would it look translucent? Would it have some kind of a three-dimensional lenticular effect to it? What would that final look and feel be? I don't know. It'd be interesting.
Basically, it will be part translucent because you get the metal effect. What we discussed on the designers meeting. If you place the
No,
silver foil,
no foil.
you'll
No
yeah.
foil.
But
Yeah.
as I told you, well, depends what is under the varnish again. If you have a dark substrate, then you don't have any reflection of the light. But Ken can try. I can ask the guys in IPES to try it also
I
because
can
they
ask as
they
well.
tried they tried this part. They tried this part. Cam one print, embellish on jet varnish with the silver foil, and then overprint with the Cam one again, and
That
then you
I've
have the metallic effect and everything.
that I've seen. But Paul Andre actually gave us a real. Ken, you're going to freak out when you hear about this. Paul, tell us about what one of your customers is doing to get a matte looking three-dimensional varnish
It,
on the jet varnish.
I think it was a customer from Eastern Europe, and they were printing. So they were printing CMYK, doing embellishment with jet varnish, and they wanted to switch a bit the glossiness of the varnish from a glossy to a more matte satin effect. So what they did, they had like a say laser technology. Um, and so they did a third pass through the Say laser so it was like a spot application, and they spot the laser where they have been able to embellish, and from that they switched from a glossy varnish to a matte varnish thanks to this laser technology.
Isn't that cool?
It's a
That's cool.
surprising way to modify a bit the varnish look, yeah.
Does that create like a slight abrasion?
Yeah, definitely, yes. Yes,
Oh,
correct.
cool.
Yeah.
That's
And
awesome.
from this abrasion, I believe that this abrasion killed the glossiness, yeah. So it's very surprising, yeah.
You haven't been able to get photos for us to share, have
I
you?
will I will ask for it. I will ask, and when I will get it, I will send it to you for sure, yeah.
Very good.
Even a video can be very nice. Yeah.
Um, so Ken and also maybe Marco from the technical standpoint, the dimensional tactile nature is one of the key, I think, attractions. One of the first thing that gets people through the door is that 3D look and feel. If you're a first-time operator, what are some of the key things that you recommend people look out for when running three-dimensional jobs? I mean, what are the key things that if I just got a machine that I should be aware of going into this?
think there's a couple keys, and one is fine detail. Got to really be careful with fine detail, especially if you're putting foil down. So I recommend if you want dimension, don't put a bunch of microns of varnish down and then expect to get a small key line of foil. Go ahead and run that at 30 microns. Go ahead and press your foil on, get your nice edges and your fine detail, and then put it through for a second pass and then add dimension over the top of the foil. That's one of the keys, because if you get that, if you got to think of that raised printing as a little bit of a dome, and you're
Right.
not going to get edge to edge foil contact on something that's super high. So go ahead and save yourself a lot of effort by printing that foil, getting it down, and then putting it over the top. A couple other things that come to mind are if you're going to do a lot of dimension, you're going to need extra drying time. You get to 100 microns, the surface is sealed, but you're going to find out if you were to cut that fairly quickly that it's not completely cure. It needs some time to off gas, and you need some time for it to further cure. The other thing that was really important is if you're going to do a high amount of raised printing on one side, but the other side is just a little bit of spot varnish, do the spot varnish first, because you do not want a lumpy surface when you turn that sheet over. You've got vacuum that's pulling that sheet down to the printing belt, and you don't want a lumpy surface to put your flat spot UV down. So put that spot UV down first on the first side, then get to your dimensional side and do it that way. It'll save you a lot of aggravation. But most importantly, the more you put down and the more texture you have, uh, we've talked about this and other things. The operators have got to be the ones to say, "Whoa, wait a minute! I see this job is due tomorrow morning. It's not going to happen. We're not going to create a work of art and we're going to have it destroyed." So you kind of have to stand up for yourself, because they love getting you the file at the last minute and going, we're going to do all this crazy stuff and you're going to have it out by tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way, and you need to educate, the people up in your process that you have concerns, and you can tell them what they are.
Marco, how about you? Any other pieces of advice that that you would recommend for operators to really keep in mind if they're doing dimensional tactile work?
Basically, can't set it all. We have the same mind.
Yeah.
But I would go the first thing when they go to the higher level of varnish, the spreading of the varnish. No, the machine is going slower with the higher amount of varnish, so the spreading of the mask file will be much larger. So the details, you can lose the details, as Ken said. Thin lines will become a little thicker, and go to editor, contract or expand to minus inside the editor, expand to minus your mask file if you have enough pixels to expand to minus to contract basically the mask file, so to compensate that spreading of the varnish if you are going 40, 50, 70 microns in one pass.
So
If you don't have the big solid areas, maybe if you need let's say 80 or 100 microns, do it in two passes for 40, 50.
So
You know?
tell also, I think there's two things. Number one, I think also substrate choice plays a lot when it comes to level of detail that you get. I don't know about your experience, Paul-André and Marco, and obviously Ken, but first off, the best quality lines I got in 3D was typically on top of toner. Toner was typically pushing the varnish in and up.
Yeah.
So toner was a great surface for us. And then back in the day, going onto synthetics, things like vinyls, plastics, PVCs, gave us incredible line definitions where we were able to do things that we could not do on paper. Is that something that you guys see as well, or no?
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. Yes. Sorry, move forward if
No,
you
no, no,
want
no.
to.
Finish.
So,
I
yeah.
wanted to say regarding the synthetics, be aware of the energy surface.
Oh yeah.
This is the most crucial thing, to be small machines from down level 34 to 45. This is some Q zone for the JETvarnish small machines, and 38 to 45 for the big machines. If you are low on synthetics on with the surface of the energy of that synthetics, you can lose the details because the varnish will contract itself inside, drops will try to come into the sphere, and
Yeah.
you will lose the details.
Interesting.
And if you know what is happening, then you can even boost a little, like you Kevin said, boost a little the sharpness,
Right.
but you need to be somewhere on the edge, 32, maybe maximum 30, if you have enough varnish when it contracts because of the energy of the surface, then it stays still in a shape that you need.
And I did not
But
know
be aware.
there's a Q zone difference between a Curio Shine and Evo. I didn't realize that there are different Q zones. That's interesting. Paul-André, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I wanted to open the window of uncoated substrates. So it can be we can face some issues regarding this type of material because some of them they are pretty structured. So the varnish will follow the structure of the paper. So what we used to do it in two passes usually. So we do a first pass of varnish spot primer just to seal the substrate and not to be dependent by the texture of the paper, and doing a second pass in order to apply the 3D varnish texture.
Okay.
So this has to be really keep in consideration when producing with uncoated material or natural paper, art paper, etc. Yeah.
Very cool. And then Ken, I don't know if you know, but I wish somebody could explain to me, like I'm a 5-year-old, what the dithering option actually does. Like I hear about dithering, and I know Matt loves it and he uses it on different things. Um, can somebody explain simply what dithering option is on the machine?
I have, if you want, I can show you a true
Awesome.
example.
Yeah.
As you can see here, we have some shiny, very shiny glossy varnish, but we have as well, just here, we have a more satin with a
Okay.
grainy texture. And basically we have used this dithering effect. So basically what we did, instead to have like a full block of varnish, we will put space between the varnish drops, and we will reduce as well the varnish thickness. And it gives us the possibility to reduce the glossiness, and as well to switch from a glossy varnish to a more matte varnish. So we reduce the glossiness, and we expand as well the texture.
So it's
But
like a
So you can see
micro.
all
Is
this.
it like a micro pattern almost?
Yes, exactly. Yes, correct. Yes. It
Great
looks like
to
in the
have
file,
the
it looks
net
like a
visual
grainy texture.
samples.
The matte
it's
areas are
basically no, the basically what the dithering is, it's basically the rasterizing of the image. You know how when you rasterize the 50% of the black, you have the small dots and of black and white between them. So basically, what we do, the head is not firing from each nozzle because the drop is always one drop.
Just every other nozzle?
Yeah.
Something
it.
similar. So it simulates like a rasterization of that mask. So you can get the fluid, movement from the different thicknesses of the varnish. It's not the steps. It's like the real 3D effect.
And
And what Jean-Paul said, you can get a satin effect with a lower amount of varnish there. Let's say 10% of the mask.
Yes.
and I think Eric, you had a comment there. You wanted to say something?
oh no, well, that piece was gorgeous. And I was noticing the interplay between the matte and gloss, like
Yeah.
just where that is on that like leaf with the other leaf
Yeah.
next to
Just
it.
there.
That juxtaposition is really stunning.
And we have like a superposition between the dithering effect and the glossy varnish.
And you do that in one pass or two passes?
No, alors, all the varnish effect has been made in the same pass. But
Okay.
here we have varnish and foil in the same area. So we have started the production with the job with the hot foil stamping effect and doing the second pass with all the varnish effects. And
But the
because we are
3D
able
and
to,
satin were done in the
yes,
same pass.
yes, definitively, yes.
That's really
It's not
cool.
an issue. Yeah.
I think an important thing for operators to remember too, I talked about all the reasons earlier to push
Right.
the special effects in a 3D. Excuse me. Um, is you just by nature of the technology, there's times when you get a stubborn nozzle or you get a stubborn defect coming from a head, and we can try and purge our way out of it. But if you've got a couple of jobs lined up that day and one of them has a special pattern like that, especially if it's droplets that are in a certain spot, I think back to one of my favorite pieces, and it still is the Heineken bottle, the wet Heineken bottle with the water dripping off of it. If you run that job early in the day, chances are by the time you get done with it, the defect, first of all, is going to be invisible because you're just going to have this scattered droplets everywhere. But then you're going to purge all the issues away from the heads. And when you have to do a smooth job later in the day, it's going to be, the technology loves to run more and more and more. So the more you run it, the more it cleans everything out. And then as an operator, you're not fighting a defect. So keep that in mind. And it hides a lot of things, right? If you've got a badly printed piece and you're kind of stuck with it, and you can somehow use a special effect to hide a flaw or maybe a piece of the design that just doesn't look good, you could busy it up. Sometimes it goes completely away. So I recommend you using it to your advantage so you can keep production up.
That's another important thing I think that we should say is that, when you're doing your prototypes, your setups, and you're doing one sheet, making a modification, another sheet, making a modification, I think maybe a lot of operators who are starting out don't realize that's like the worst possible atmosphere for getting good quality production, right? I mean, the best possible is once that machine is running and the temperature and the heads get to that optimal level, the viscosity is flowing. I think that's one of the key things that a lot of people don't necessarily know when they're starting off is that the more you actually run the stuff, the better it looks in a production run.
Yeah, I mean, you have to keep in mind that those orifices are small in those heads. They do warm up and they do expand and contract, and it's a fluid, right? You got to keep pumping a fluid. Even water coming out of a faucet can spray at you kind of funny sometimes. So, yeah, if you're setting up a job and you got a defect, especially in a pattern, run five, right? Or shut off your scanner and put a couple of blank sheets through because you might find by the fifth sheet it's like, oh man, no brainer. All I got to do is get rolling here and everything's going to be good to go.
That's
So
right.
that's a great point, Kevin. Thanks for bringing that up.
Well, you brought it up, so I was just kind of making sure people understood what you were saying because it can save you a lot of heartache if you understand some of these key things. Okay. Anything else? Any other ideas or points that our panelists want to talk about, or that Ken you had in mind for today's discussion?
No, I think go ahead.
I
I'm sorry.
wanted just to add that here in Europe, we oftenly receive customers from everywhere, and we take like a space of 10-15 minutes at the end of the demonstration to show what they can get with the technology on top of what we have produced during the whole day. And usually we are producing like these very nice samples. We always take like where we have put some foil on it, where we have put some foil on the jobs. We try to recover the sheet and to put varnish on top of that. And they are always like pretty surprised with what we can do with the technology. It's not only varnish and foil. Here it is varnish plus foil.
Right.
And here we have been able to apply a varnish texture on top of the foil.
Right.
And to be honest, it's always like a very nice things to show to our customers
Yeah, that's one of
because
my favorites. And I also want to mention too, if the operators have not had a chance to mess with the translucent foils, the cracked ice, the lenticular look, there's some foils out there that you can actually see through, and it already refracts light, and it already adds another dimension to the piece. But if you throw a little bit of dimensional varnish over the top of those foils, you get some insane results. So
yeah.
as you hear from me probably every time I'm on the podcast, go ahead and experiment. Try everything you can in your downtime because you might create something that nobody's ever thought of, and it's happening every day in the field.
So I did want to do a follow-up to the designer meetup. We had I was talking to somebody from a company not too far from where you live, my friend, Ken, called Serious Graphics. and we were talking about some of the award-winning pieces that they were doing. And can I just show you guys what they just sent me? I got this in the mail yesterday. I kind of want to show this off. So first off, you're gonna have exactly what Paul was talking about.
Yeah.
They put water droplets on top of the foil. So there's silver foil here, there's red foil here, and this is a holographic foil.
No, 3 passes.
3 passes. And then check this out. I don't know if you've ever seen this kind of a finish, Ken, but they do a lot of work for casinos. And so here, this is all in foil where it says pull here. Look what happens when I pull. Oh, hold on.
Don't break it.
Break it. But if I pull it, it's like
Wow.
there's a, it's like
A
it's
casino.
like a casino. These
Wow.
and these are all foiled and varnished, but basically it's like a
Float machine.
slot machine.
crazy.
Amazing.
Isn't that cool?
Unbelievable.
Amazing.
Have you guys ever seen something like this? I've never seen this. I've never seen this.
That better not just be winning awards. That should be killing it.
Right. And then they also sent me something I think we were maybe talking about. They did this piece. This is their self-promo piece. And they put silver down here. They
Yeah.
overprinted, I believe, with their KM1 and then put varnish on top of it. So exactly what we were talking about earlier. It's
Yeah.
kind of hard to see, but they have that kind of a metallic look and feel underneath of their, and then
It's
obviously
beautiful.
open it and you have everything that they do.
Wow.
Really, really high-end stuff.
Beautiful.
These guys are going to be killing it. So I just wanted to make sure I share that with you guys. And then really cool folds for the embellishment. So you can see that there's some holographic, there's some blues, there's some clears on top of this piece. And I
It looks
guess,
like there is a bit of glitter, no?
yeah. And then you open it up
Wow.
and it's I don't know what just fell out, but yeah, really, really cool stuff. And I guess it's a calendar that comes out. That's a pocket calendar. So anyways, just thought I would share as a follow-up to our last meeting that they actually they went to the mailbox and dropped these samples off, and I'm going to be doing an unboxing with probably with my son on this piece because I thought it was really that cool.
To get back to what I started with, that you're not throwing that stuff out.
No, dude.
You are staying engaged
Yeah,
with it. It's hanging around your house.
But
It's
this
tempting.
begs
The offers are tempting. It's just, that's killing it. And whatever operator did that should be super proud of themselves. That's fantastic.
so
it-
this begs the question though, Kevin, is folding an embellishment?
oh, I don't know. That's
Oh my
That's-
gosh.
philosophical question.
hear about
Is it
this.
too late? Do we have enough time for that can of worms?
It's finishing. I don't know if it's an embellishment, but it could be. I mean, you see the folding with that.
I would argue it. I would argue it is. I would argue anything that you can bring more attention to a piece of printed material is an embellishment. Just be my argument.
It's not a bad read. It's not a bad read on, I think, the market. So that's I think
I'm getting head nods. So
all right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think this brings our wonderful time to an end. I'd like to thank our host, Ken Huizinga, for not only having a superb sense of style, but also bringing so much wonderful education to all of us operators out there. And a big thanks to Marco, Paul Andre, and Eric for providing a lot of colored commentary. Ken, I'll let you take this home, baby. It's your show. If you want to say anything, any parting words that you would like to impart on the rest of us.
I just hope that the operators take time to listen to this, because the resources that are on this screen with a manufacturer and somebody that's in the field working on them all the time, it's a priceless group. And if you can get so much knowledge from the people that are on this screen. So I encourage you to take the time to watch it. If you did, you're probably doing some awesome work, and hang in there. You're not alone. You're creating art, and we want you to be successful. So we'll do everything that we can to help.
Amen to that, my friend. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much. Looking forward to seeing you all next month.
Bye, guys.
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone.
Have a good day, guys.